The moment Logan Wilson opened his mouth and uttered those now viral words about the Dallas Cowboys, fans across the NFL, especially the silver and blue faithful, felt the earth shift beneath their feet, because you rarely hear a player of his caliber speak so openly, so casually, and yet so meaningfully about the possibility of joining one of the league's most iconic franchises. And the timing of it all only made the moment even more explosive. It happened right when the Cowboys were under heavy scrutiny about their defensive inconsistencies, linebacker depth issues, and the overall direction of the team as they continued battling through another season filled with the same familiar narrative of talented but incomplete, which is why Wilson's comments weren't just surprising, they were seismic, sending waves of speculation across social media, sports talk shows, and fan communities who immediately started asking the question that Dallas fans have repeated for decades. Whenever a big-name player utters anything remotely flattering about America's team, could the Cowboys actually pull this off? And even more importantly, would Wilson genuinely consider it? Because the way he spoke didn't feel like a slip-up or a half-hearted acknowledgement. It felt intentional, carefully phrased. Almost like he wanted the league to know that he's aware of his value and aware of the opportunities that lie outside Cincinnati, especially in a place like Dallas, where the star on the helmet means something different, something bigger, something that transcends market size, local fan culture, or even deep-rooted loyalty to a franchise. And when Wilson said, "If the Cowboys called you, always listen," fans knew instantly that this wasn't just a respectful nod or a diplomatic dodge. In the NFL world, that kind of statement is practically a billboard-sized advertisement saying, "I'm listening, I'm open, and I'm not shutting any doors." And when you consider who Wilson is as a player, the situation becomes even more electrifying. He's not some average rotational linebacker or short-term patch who fills a depth chart for a season. He's a high IQ, instinctive sideline-to-sideline machine who has built a reputation as one of the smartest and most reliable defensive players in the league. A guy who diagnoses plays before they develop, who can drop into coverage as fluidly as a safety, who hits with power, who plays with discipline, who understands leverage, angles, and timing better than most linebackers in the NFL today. And that's exactly what makes this story so massive for Cowboys fans. Because for years now, the biggest complaint about Dallas, not counting the usual playoff frustration, has been the inconsistency at linebacker, especially when injuries have hit or young players haven't developed at the pace the front office hoped. Fans have begged for stability, leadership, and physicality in the middle of the defense. And Logan Wilson represents all of that, all wrapped into one player who is still in his prime and still ascending, which leads to the next layer of this drama. Why would he say this now? Why would he make such a pointed comment? And what does it reveal about how he views his career going forward, especially when he said something even more revealing afterward about wanting to be valued and wanting to be in a place where he can help a team win? And while that comment on its own sounds neutral enough, when you connect the dots between the Cowboys' desperate need for a linebacker, Dallas's championship window, the attention the franchise brings, the star power of playing beside someone like Micah Parsons, and the way Wilson responded to the Cowboys' rumor specifically, it's nearly impossible not to interpret his words as a subtle message sent not only to his current team, but to the entire league, saying, "If you want me, come get me." And that kind of energy ignites a fan base like the Cowboys, because they've seen big-name players flirt with Dallas in the past, but rarely in such an open and unfiltered way. Usually players give robotic answers about staying focused, respecting their current team, or ignoring rumors. But Wilson didn't play that game, and that's why the reaction online was insane. Cowboys Nation exploded with excitement. Bengals fans panicked about the possibility of losing one of their most important defenders. Analysts took to their microphones to discuss cap space scenarios, scheme fits, potential contract numbers, and hypo. Vertical roster combinations where Parsons and Wilson become one of the most terrifying linebacker duos in the league, striking fear into offensive coordinators and giving Dallas something they've been missing since the days when Sean Lee was healthy or when late-career Rolando McClain shocked everyone with elite-level play, and the more people talked about it, the more realistic it started to feel, because although the Cowboys are infamous for their cautious cap strategies and reluctance to splurge every offseason, they also understand star power, branding, defensive identity, and the urgency of capitalizing on a potential championship window, especially when players like Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and others are all in their prime and the team is consistently hovering on the edge of being a true contender, always one or two moves away from crossing that final threshold. And for many fans and analysts, Wilson feels like exactly the type of player who bridges that gap, not flashy in the way Parsons is flashy, not a marketing giant like some offensive superstars, but steady, cerebral, quietly dominant. The type of player who elevates everyone around him, who makes defenses smarter, who gives edge rushers more time, who helps the secondary by reading quarterback intentions, and who brings the kind of on-field leadership that wins playoff games, not regular season headlines. And whenever a player like that expresses interest, even subtle interest, in joining a franchise as high-profile as the Cowboys, you better believe the front office hears it, even if they don't address it publicly, because Jerry Jones has built an empire on moments like this, on opportunities to land players who bring both talent and narrative, and whether or not Dallas ultimately decides to pursue Wilson, the fact that he spoke so openly about the Cowboys already shows there's at least some level of curiosity, some spark of interest that could become something bigger depending on how his situation unfolds. And from a storytelling point of view, this entire saga is perfect for Cowboys fans because it taps into everything they love: the allure of a big acquisition, the hope of upgrading a vulnerable position, the excitement of pairing elite talent, the belief that the team is one piece away from making a deep postseason run, and the drama of a respected defensive star publicly acknowledging the Cowboys in a way that leaves the door wide open, wide enough to keep this story alive for months, fueling conversations, debates, predictions, and dreams about how a transformed Cowboys defense could look with Wilson commanding the middle of the field. And that's why this storyline has taken on a life of its own, because even though nothing is official, even though it's just words at this point, those words carry weight, they carry intention, and they carry a spark of possibility that fans can't ignore. And the beauty of this moment is that it doesn't feel like the hype for the sake of hype. It feels real. It feels grounded in genuine curiosity and professional ambition. And when you look at Wilson's demeanor, the way he spoke, and the timing of his comments, you can almost sense the gears turning behind the scenes, not just with him, but with every analyst, agent, and front office executive who understands how quickly a narrative like this can evolve into something concrete. And that's why Cowboys Nation is watching every update, every quote, every whisper. Because for once, this doesn't feel like a fantasy. It feels like something that could actually happen if the stars align just right. And until we know more, the speculation will only grow, the excitement will keep building, and fans will continue imagining a future where Logan Wilson, wearing the star on his helmet, trots out onto the field at a T&T stadium beside Micah Parsons, ready to transform the Cowboys' defense into something terrifying, disciplined, and championship caliber, all because of one moment, one quote, and one open door that has now captured the imagination of an entire fan base.